Hope we're all having a good day. We're getting ready to do lesson 32. And on 31 last week, I got the wrong caption up there, and I had lesson 31 up there as far as the second part. But not too, I think it was only, 8 or 9 people that caught on to that. The majority of everybody is still working their way through. Anyway, so what I'd like to do today is start showing you some exercises and things to do to help you along, because that's one of the biggest parts. It's not just about learning notes and learning where to put your fingers and all that. It's about your life with your keyboard and with your instrument that you have, not only in the sound of just the piano or just the organ alone or whatever your keyboard is, but the sounds that it can enhance and make and produce for you as you're producing your notes for it to respond to. And so that's the main deal. So today we're going to talk a little, play a little, and do all kinds of stuff. I would expect that you that have gone through last week's lesson and you're here today, you're kind of excited about the fact that you can actually sit down and actually go through thinking through a chord progression and then thinking through different notes that you would play, and then putting dots on a piece of paper. And then when you sit down at the keyboard, you look at those little dots, you know, the dots that would wave up and wave down and up and wave down, or in a single line, and then quick up, quick down, or whatever you've come up with on a piece of paper. And you can just sit down and go through your chords, for instance. I have a little, it's not a real clear piano, but that's okay, it'll work. So, yeah, it'll work fine. And so you can work through your chords, and then if you're going upscale, then whatever you've got your little dots on that piece of paper with. So that's in the key of D. Key of C, I'm sorry. Oh, that reminds me, last lesson on my Jammin', what was it, Jammin' 5, where if you go to Jammin' 5, which is on my playlist of videos that I'm playing in on my channel, YouTube channel, and go to Jammin' 5, you can listen to my rendition of a saxophone. I've got quite a few sax, but I like the breathy sax. It's kind of deep, and I just like that sound. Anyway, but just to give you an idea, because it's time for you to start experimenting now. You've got enough time behind you with this that you can experiment, and that's what we're going to do today. We're going to just experiment a little bit. And first off, I want to go through a few little exercises that are needed. If you remember, I tell you to sit behind the middle C. If you have a bunch of keyboards, I've got all mine on middle C. They're all lined up right down in a row. So when I do something, I jump right on down in any direction. So you're right beyond middle C, so then you go up here. For instance, I wanted to hit I think it was an F I had in my head, I don't know, but I hit an E. Okay, so I need to practice a little bit too. But what you need to do is just start, in other words, go up here. It should be C. No, it's D, see? I went off. But in other words, you want to get it in your subconscious where those notes are. So you can practice. And the best thing that I've ever done is just hitting a chord so you know what you got an idea about. And then you just hit it. Or you hit something that's going to go with it. okay? And with your eyes closed so that you can just and practice that way by just hitting a chord. And just playing around up and down the keyboard, and just keep working that way, and doing different things down here. In just the chords only, it's time to start experimenting a little bit. Everything you're going to see me playing here with chords is everything in G. Okay, so I'm playing all the chords that are in G. Okay, so. Okay, so as long as you're in front of the keys here. Now, if you've got a piano, you're probably already down here doing this kind of a thing. Doing things like that. And you've got your sustain pedals, you've got your staccato, where it dulls your notes quickly, and like this with a staccato. You'll hear it in a minute. So you can do that with your piano sounds. With the organ sounds, this is harder for you because you're going to start experimenting things that you don't know what they are. You read the manual and it says to get this sound, get that sound. I kind of don't go along with that because I don't want to be, I don't want to sound like the last guy that sat down and played a keyboard because he wrote the, he wrote the book on how to play that organ. I want to be able to sit down and experiment with sound so that I have I have the subconscious embedded into me of what that sounded like. So when I'm goofing around and I hear a sound, I can add two things differently by just experimenting with them. So when I'm getting ready to sit down, I just keep changing things. In other words, I don't play just piano all the time, but I've been doing that because I'm teaching keyboards and most of you have a piano. But now a lot of you don't, so we're going to also cover that also. And at the same time, the ones that if you're playing a piano, you'll see how I'm doing different things with my down here. Getting a different kind of a tone to it. Now, if you have an organ where you have pedal boards, okay, here's G, just the letter G, which is the key we're in. Okay, now listen to the pedal board. You can add that together, okay? And when you're doing that, you see what I'm doing. I've got my left hand and my pedal working together. And then after you get that figured out and get that, it's like squeezing your nose, rubbing your eye, and then kicking your leg in one direction or another all at the same time and make sense of it all. Okay, so if we were to do something like this, because the more that you experiment with things and play around, the more you're going to be relaxed with doing all kinds of stuff. And that's how you learn. You don't learn this as well. If you just start reading music and you read music all the time, nobody's telling you. You have to experiment. You have to experiment with what you're reading there and change it in ad-lib. And in order to ad-lib, you got to have some knowledge of experimenting. So what I did is I've got the piano and I've got the organ here, so I've adjusted a couple sounds in there. They might come out wrong, they might come out all right, because I really haven't experimented much with that. See, sometimes I don't prepare. Anyway, so I'm going to start out and we'll see what happens. See what happened there? I didn't have that on. Okay, so in other words, I want you to just play around with what you have. And just let's go back to our piano if I can. Yeah, we're close enough. Okay, so I'm still not out of it. Let's see. Okay, now we're back to the piano. Now when you're doing stuff like this, you can experiment. It's all about playing. Okay, now, that kind of covers it for this week, actually, because I want you to just play around. I want you to experiment. I want you to take those little dots that you made on your piece of paper and start working with them. So in other words, if you've got a dot, for instance, where you're going up the scale, okay, is that one bar? What is that? It all depends on your amount of speed, rhythm, and timing. So in other words, it's best to have some kind of a like tick, 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 or something, or you're going to have to learn to count. Okay, that's four beats to a measure because I'm doing it here. Okay. Okay. Now, if you want to, if you're doing something where you're like this, for instance. Okay. Now, I'm not counting in my head. I've been timing myself with this left hand that I have for so many years that it just automatically. So in other words, if you've got two holds, in other words, if you've got two da da starting out, that's two half notes probably, unless you've got a real fast song. So, okay. And then when you go into your next chord, for instance, okay, you've got all eighth notes, for instance, and then you've got a half note, okay, or whatever you want to do with it, okay, and then you can get your timing that way. So you want to take those dots and you want to turn them into notes. So you're taking your G, okay, you're in the key of G, so start with G. And then, like how I ended it with an E, that's basically just a G6 if you wanted to look at things. See the G there? Okay, and here you have your 6. Okay, if you just drop the D and add the E, that's E minor chord, see? So you've got G, then you've got E minor, and you add the 6 to it.